Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. We have just come back from our holiday. We had a blast. I'm editing the next 2 videos. They're going to be about zucchinis and about what are they about? About cucumbers. So I'm really excited to share those with you. In the meantime, I'm going to post a video that Deep Sea Podcast made about us a while back. He asked me kindly if I wanted to repost it on our channel, and for those of you who have not come across it yet, I'm really happy to share it here. So this video is all about our farming practices and basically just a glimpse into the farming chefs. So I hope that you guys enjoy. Take it away. It is a raw, unedited version of his video, and I'll see you at the end. Ciao.
Hello, we are the Farming Chefs. I'm Philip, and this is my wife.
I'm Sophie. Very nice to meet you. So, of course, the question, what do we do here on this farm? We are the Farming Chefs, and so that the name says it. We are both farmers and chefs. We come from the kitchen, and in this latest venture of ours, we operate in the space of what we would like to describe as edutainment, where we try to educate in an entertaining fashion on our functioning regenerative farm, which we use as a backdrop in order to teach people how to grow, cook, preserve, choose and consume nutrient-dense food from regenerative farms. It basically is a combination of our skill sets, because our adventure started in the kitchen and then we opened a farm-to-table restaurant, so that is why we sort of have expertise in both of those fields. And yeah, we took this chance to really share all our knowledge and basically hope to inspire people to do what we think is great for your health and for the planet. So we have a 5.5 hectare farm. It's really wonderful because it has lots of different altitudes and little nooks and crannies, so lots of microclimates. Our productive side is a market garden, so we feed our local community with fresh veggies. And then we have other enterprises that are more in function of all the content creation and of the education. So that is basically our broilers and our laying hens. And then we have a small herd of sheep. We have a wonderful herb garden. What we are trying to do is to create a really resilient food system that will supply us mainly, and of course the vegetable garden, also our local community, and then over time we progress into something even more productive. Our main objective is to regenerate the land and to create a really beautiful oasis for people to come and get inspired and learn about regenerative agriculture.
That's such a beautiful project, a beautiful dream.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to live as well, like it's a wonderful life.
I think if people in urban areas would know how it is to live like this, you guys were all coming here.
Come join us out of the city, guys. Move
everybody
to the
was running to the countryside. Yes.
Yeah. All right, so we're here in the market garden. This is Philippe's #1 favorite place, I think, on the farm. Philippe is our master gardener. I also very much love it, by the way. I love standing here, especially in days like this when the sun is shining. We are growing fresh veg for our local community. We do that in a veggie box scheme. We have currently around 56 beds. We have another garden that we sometimes use, don't use. And we collaborate with some local farmers as well to add stuff in our boxes, but we mostly try to grow really fast turning crops in order to fill our boxes, and people seem to love it because we're in a bit of a food desert, I would say. In terms of, you know, locally sourced, fresh, available stuff, it's not easy to find here, especially not chemically free or regeneratively grown. So our local community really appreciates us, and we really enjoy growing for them. And
we really appreciate them too.
We really appreciate them too. Love you guys. So yeah, we made the decision to market garden because when we set up our company, the Farming Chefs, we really knew that we had this skill and we were going to do it for the educational purposes. And then in our minds, it made sense. If we're already going to be growing, we might as well also sell. And that is, you know, basically here, what we're standing in. What we're doing here is the classic no-dig market garden style. So like J.M. Fortier, Charles Dowding, Richard Perkins. There's many people that have inspired us to grow like this. And it's all about efficiency and using, you know, very minimal tools and intervention in a very efficient way. And then you get to work a lot of land just with one man without any...
It's not even a lot of land, it's quite a short land, but it's highly productive land, so the turning is very fast. We can produce much more kilos per square meter than any other big farm that you can imagine. All these small market gardens, they really crank the production up because that's what the economy brings after, it's like, don't get bigger land because you get more work, get smaller land and just intensely work it. And yeah, it works, it's working.
What's the secret to getting your land so productive on a small?
Good compost.
Yeah.
Good compost, like having, you know, like we just said, don't step on the beds. We're sort of religious about that. So having really nice loose soils, working on your fertility program. We have our own compost set up. We don't have a fully closed cycle, so we do actually still have to import some compost, but we hope to mitigate for that when we get a few more animals on the land. And just introducing a lot of microbiology. We have a compost tea set up. So we basically have a machine upstairs by the house. We pump our water from our charcas up to the house, and there we inoculate it with all kinds of microbiology. We don't do that every time we irrigate, but we do that on a regular basis. And much TLC, tender love and care. Singing to your plants apparently also helps.
Don't have reactionary actions on the garden. Just take care of the problem before it exists, so you will never have it. Like, for example, one of the most known things in no-dig market garden is the weeding aspect of it. If you just pass your wire hose very early in the seasons when the weeds are very, very tiny, it takes you maybe half an hour to do all the garden, and you will not have weeds. But if you're going to wait until the weeds are big and then you're going to weed it, it's going to take a bunch of hours. So just work it before it's happening. So.
This is like a cue for me to start talking, because this reminds me of the first farm that we had, and we spent many times weeding on our knees in the beginning when we didn't really know much about gardening yet. And so I always like to joke, like, there will be no more kneading on our knees ever again.
Yeah.
And I think like no-dig market gardening is really perfect for that, because basically you do a lot of the work standing up, and yeah, it just feels very efficient. Also in terms of trying to make money growing veg, it's not easy, like the margins are very low, so you have to be super efficient, and that's what we really like about this system. A quick break from the video just to quickly inform you about our farm-to-table cooking retreat coming up. There's one in October that is full, unfortunately, well, happily, but unfortunately for those of you who might still want to join us. But in 2026, we're going to have, of course, more of them, and they're booking up really fast, so don't miss out and go check it out. Back to the video. Yeah, you asked me if we do anything specifically for the soil, and I thought you were talking about like, you know, like production crops, like cash crops, but I forgot to mention that we of course also cover crop. So we try to have living roots in the soil at all times, and just to really enhance our soil biology by living plants. So we do that as often as we can. It's always a bit tricky because of course when you put a cover crop in, it's like you're in some way losing that productive time in the bed, but then what you get back is really incredible. So we found that, you know, cover cropping with things like legumes or veg or rye and things are really beneficial for the soil, and that yields afterwards really increase. It's always still a bit of a work in progress on how to rotate it well. I don't think we're experts at that yet, but I think we're doing a good job at it.
Well, we didn't do no soil analysis, but all the nitrogen fixers are the plants that you want to use as cover crops, because they fixate your nitrogen on the soil. So that's, and how do we know that when it's time? It's when it's flower, it's the best time for it. It's when it's at its highest as nitrogen. So it's when it has the flowers, it's time. You don't let the flowers become fruit. You just, on that time, you just cut the plant, and you just, a lot of people turn it into the bed. What we're trying to do is just cutting it, laying down, and just put a thin layer of compost on top and leave it like that.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So it slowly decomposes, but I guess then you need to wait a little bit until you can plant your next bed.
It's always a bit tricky on what you're going to plant in next. So like if you can plant something right into it, something big, like, you know, you could do pumpkin or a cabbage or something, like something that is quite sturdy, like a one plant. Obviously direct seeding then becomes very tricky, because that's best done in super fine compost. So that's always a bit the way off. And no, we didn't do any soil analysis. Of course, if you get really into it, I'm very geeky about all the levels and the pHs and stuff, you can get really into it. That's not really the way we farm. We have quite a holistic, sort of intuitive way of farming, where we just observe the system and we see what works and doesn't work. And coming here into this new climate has been really interesting. But we always start a bed off with cover crops. So for instance, this is the newest part of the garden. So before we start producing in here, we'll cover crop it. then plant into it afterwards, and then try to bring in one cover crop annually in each bed. Sometimes, we have to be honest, we prolong the season a little longer just because we need a lot of production. But yeah, we try to just find times in the year. It could be spring, could be autumn, could be winter. Like, we can grow all year round here. So we just find a moment in the year.
So this block of the garden, for example, was made last year in summertime, in the heat of the summer. So we tarped everything. We plant this piece here in end December, beginning January, and it will be ready to plant, I think, in a month. If I'm not mistaken, there will be some broccolis and some cauliflowers in these beds right now.
Okay, so you're just gonna cut it down soon.
Yes.
Let it, and in just 1 month, it's gonna be enough for it to decompose. And
yeah, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut it, we're gonna tarp it for 2 weeks, and after the tarping, we put the compost on top, and then we plant it. Here in Portugal, we have a WhatsApp group with all market gardeners, and it's an amazing community. We were talking about this yesterday, and it's one of the parts that I like more, that we are very different from any other industry, because we will share every information possible that we have with our colleagues, and that's something very special in this area.
That's amazing. I guess it's really important so to feel that you're part of a community of people doing
Totally.
this.
Very important.
Back and if you can share.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Not alone.
I think it's a very strong general sense, like in terms of the energy that you get when you get a lot of people that are operating in this regenerative space, that have a clear vision of, basically improving the place that they're farming and leaving it better for the next generation. I think you share a very strong common value, and I think everybody that works the natural system, let's say, knows that it's not always easy. So it's good to have this community of people and sharing sort of secrets and tips and tricks, and like how do you do this, where do you buy that, what are your grand successes, what are your grand fails and stuff. And that's nice, and that is true what Philippe's saying. I think that is a special sort of energy that lives within this community, which is really energizing. So yeah, and start small. I think that's also a good tip that I think applies, where it's just, when we started our first place, we were very keen and just like, oh, we need to supply our own restaurant, so we need to go big and we need to do this. And that was very megalomaniac from us, maybe a little bit. But yeah, looking back at that experience, I think we could have saved ourselves quite some time and money if we would have started a little smaller and learned as we went, instead of going very big and then having to deal with all the problems on a much larger scale when things don't go very well. So start small and then optimize the space that you have, become super productive in what you're doing, and then go bigger. Like if you don't have enough production, the first thing you should ask yourself is like, do I need more land? The answer probably is no. It's probably, how can I get more out of the square meterage that I'm on? And then if you manage to do that, then you're ready to go to the next bed, expansion.
So the garden that you see here, it's a third of the garden that we start. So that's crazy, because we just went all over our heads, and we just, it was just too much. It's just too much. You can see that we learn, because when we start here, we started like, no, we're gonna start what I can manage by myself. But we can grow a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're sitting in our meadow, and it's a beautiful moment to maybe discuss a little bit the animal integration that we do on the farm. Obviously, it's not, well, it's also dogs, but it's not mainly dogs. We are very consciously trying to restore the soils here on this farm by using animals as a tool. And so we have a small herd of sheep, and we graze them rotationally on our farm in very small paddocks. We try to just very intensively graze them in order to fertilize the land and eat the grass and capture the carbon out of the air into the soil via the root systems. And then we also have behind us, they're not beautiful to look at, but they're the chicken tractors. So we do have a little production of broilers, which are meat chickens, and egg producing chickens, so laying hens. They are more for our home consumption, so they're very small herds. But what we basically do is we graze them through the field in order to use them as fertilizers. Sounds weird.
Pest controllers.
No, in order to use them to fertilize the land and to increase our grass production, which then eventually will increase our meat production. So we very much like to think of it as that we're farming grass, and then whatever gets to live on that grass brings us, yields in terms of meat or eggs, and that's what we're trying to achieve here. It's a very basic setup. It's like a super low cost structure that just provides shade and shelter, and you just move them manually onto a new piece every day until they hit about halfway through their life cycle, when they get a bit bigger, and then you do it twice a day. And so what happens is that they have their feces basically quite intensively manure one area, and then you move along, and then that takes time to decompose. And then when you see that the grass has recovered to the point that it was, or a little bit higher than it was before, ideally, you bring back the animals on the cycle. And we graze our sheep first then, and then we bring on the chickens.
Okay, so how do they work together? So you say you first graze with the sheep?
Yes.
Yeah.
You let it grow back first, or?
Well, no, you can basically do that quite intensely after each other. So because you can get the benefit of all the animals that eat the manure of the sheep, that can also be sort of a feed for your chickens. So if you time it correctly, it's even better with cows, but we don't have cows.
So they're actually complementary?
Yes.
They are complementary, yes, indeed.
So you have to imagine that you have 30-40 centimeters of grass, and we will graze the sheep quite fast, one day basically, in a small space. They will bring that grass like about 10 centimeters height, so quite short, and after that we put the chickens. So the chickens will start eating the larvae that are created or that are raised.
Like a week after, more or less, because you want to time it so that the poop that has been deposited by the sheep will then have like some eggs and maggots, and there's sort of life coming to digest the poop, and then you can have the benefit of, especially with your laying hens, it's nice for the egg quality to get some really live insects in there.
Some protein.
And then they, of course, leave their manure, and then you leave it to rest. That's very important, the resting time, because if you don't time the resting time correctly, you could actually be degrading your grassland.
Yes.
But what you're trying to do, obviously, is to grow it stronger and to have ever more producing grass. So it's important to give the plant really the time to recoup its growth underground, which will reflect in the growth above ground. And then once you see like it's basically come back to the stage where you've had it at its peak, then it's ready to be grazed again. If you come back before that, you're making it harder on the plant to come up.
Overgrazing it.
Okay. And,
Overgrazing,
in the only 3 years since you've been here, have you seen a change in the landscape?
I want to
Yes.
say yes.
Yes, no, we have, and you can see even like the amount of species that we find on a square meter has changed.
Yeah.
We're not successful on all parts of the land yet, because it's very much a time where you need to monitor very well to understand the impact that you have on different parts of your farm. Because, for instance, we have some areas that have bedrock quite shallow, so there's not a lot of topsoil there. And then we have other places like where we're sitting right now, where we actually have much deeper soil profile, where we have bigger layers of topsoil. So this is an easier part to regenerate, because there's already quite a lot of life in the soil, and like that cycle is already functioning. On some more degraded pieces, it's trickier because we deal with extremely hot summers. So I feel like it always takes a hit. So biology in the ground, especially on those spots where there's very little topsoil, it's just such a shallow layer, and with the very high temperatures, you always get a big dip in life in the soil, which you then need to basically mitigate for again with your animal intervention. And timing that correctly can be a little challenging.
Yeah.
Also because we are, a lot of our setup is manual, so it's all about timing, and there's a lot of things that we're doing. So sometimes
I think we try to, it's just right before the summer, I think at around end of May, that nothing else is growing. We try to let the sheep go everywhere and trample a little bit the grass, because there's always like a 60% trampling of grazing animals. And that is great in our case, because the trampling creates a layer that it's covering the ground for the three months of summer that are coming, that's very intensive. So it's not that it stays humid, but it keeps the life longer at place. So if it was completely grazed, it will dry out very soon and it would be completely dead and just stone and sand. But with the trampling, with the animals passing and the trampling, that grass just covers our soil like for the summer, for the whole summer. In the place where we are, it brings a small problem, that it's the fire dangers, the fire hazards. So we could have floor fires, that's what they call here, a floor fire. But we believe that the moist under will keep us away from that.
And we try to work in terms of the parameter of the farm. So we basically, here legally you're supposed to cut down all your bram and stuff. These are all the pioneer plants that are actually helping to restore soil. So there's something very counterintuitive to that. If you're a regenerative farmer, you don't want to be taking away all your pioneers constantly, because they're actually the ones that are going to kickstart, that whole cycle of regeneration. Yeah. So a lot of neighbors frown upon us because they're like, oh, you don't mow your land, you don't plow everything. It's sort of, we're using methods here that aren't conventional in this setting. And there have been many forest fires, so I also understand why people are doing that. But the way we mitigate for that is by trying to really secure a parameter. And then we are obviously banking on being able, better than others in the area maybe, to capture a lot of the water in the soil and have much more resistance against forest fires. Yeah. And we have water in many areas of our farms. If there would be a problem, we could hopefully take care of it very quickly.
It makes a lot of sense. By working the land this way, you're improving the soil organic content.
Yeah, exactly.
And your absorption of the water. Yeah.
The soil is capable of holding
a
lot more moisture and to resisting the drier climate better.
Definitely.
Just a quick pause to tell you about the official partner of the Deep Seed podcast, and that's Soil Capital. Soil Capital is a company that accelerates the transition to regenerative agriculture by financially rewarding farmers who improve the health of their soils. They are an incredible company. I love what they're doing, and I'm super proud to be partnering with them for the Deep Seed podcast.
So Philip, could you explain what you're doing here?
So we're using this natural resource that we have here, and it's this kind of trefoil, water trefoil. I don't know exactly the name of this plant, but it's 40% protein of his own weight, and he grows 75% of our size daily. So it's something that you can come here every day, and the next day you always have the same thing. So and this is chicken. We use this as chicken feed right now, but it can be used at any feed: chicken feed, pig feed, sheep feed. And we use this just so we minimize the amount of bought feed that we have to give to the chickens. And it's a nice natural resource that we have here at the farm. So
he just produces fresh protein.
Fresh protein every day. Of course, this has to be a fresh water source. So there's a source of water under this well. It's not just a well from the top, that the water comes from the top. There's a source there that makes that these wells can produce this plant, this aquatic plant, that it's a great resource. And you spare money, you get healthy animals, and it takes very little time of your day to do this. Not even 5 minutes. And we have here around 1 kilo of this thing. So probably we have around 300 to 400 grams of protein here. Free protein for chickens. Let's go give them. So we're at the orchard, and at the orchard we let the layers run through. We have everything by rows, so we would let every 3 days I'll move the net with around 25 layers. And we have a little chicken tractor that has no bottom, that allows that the poo falls down directly to the floor every time. So what we do is we move that car between the rows of the trees, and we try to park the car right next to every tree. So every night there's a discharge of chicken poo, chicken manure into that tree. And so we're trying to, every tree gets 1 day of discharge. And we run all these rows, let's say it, and these rows are about 90 days time to come back to the same place where we were. So you can see it's beautiful green. The chickens were here before. You can see it's a little bit bare, but you can see the result behind you. That's amazing.
Yeah, so you're using the chicken manure as fertilizer for your young trees that you're growing here in this orchard.
Yes. Yeah. And another thing that the chickens also do very good is the trampling from the grasses. And because we're in central Portugal, it's very, very dry and very hot. And the part of the trampling becomes very important because you're just covering your soil with grasses. And the chickens do that like amazing. They will scratch a few spots, but they will trample a lot. and basically it's a protection layer for the soil.
Awesome. So how many chickens do you have, and
25 right now.
so how many square meters do you have per chicken? Is there some kind of like calculation that you need to follow?
You have to see how much impact are the chickens creating into the soil. So you could have 100 chickens in this space, but you would have to move it 3 times a day, for example. So we have 25 chickens in a 50-meter fence, and normally it's 3 days time per each path.
Okay.
You look at the floor, you see how trampled it is, how does it look like.
Okay, so you move them every 3 days,
Every 3 days.
because you figured out that this is the right amount of time.
For this amount of chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the car moves 3 times inside the same pen. So it starts there. Tomorrow we'll be here, and after tomorrow we'll be there. And then the day after we move the net, and it goes to the next one. So the car walks slowly inside the pen itself.
And the chickens are happy, they have fresh food.
Yeah, you can look at them. You taste the egg, so
Yeah, the eggs are delicious. You can tell. Yeah,
they're just very healthy. They're just
very healthy chickens.
very-
So you just moved them here to this new patch like minutes ago, and they seem so excited. They're running around. It's like a Easter egg chasing.
Hunting, yeah.
Hunting, right? It's because they're hunting for fresh insects. And
all fresh things. You can see that I put the food there,
yeah.
but just a few have quite interest on it. All the rest, they just go like, oh my God, this is a new paradise. Look at this.
Yeah.
So
their
many-
favorite food is what, like
Bugs.
bugs, worms?
Bugs. Yeah, chickens are like small T-Rexes. They are very aggressive and very powerful, like if this animal would be a little bit bigger, would be a problem for us. It would be a problem for humanity. And they are fierce. They will scratch and eat all animals. Flies, you see them sometimes jumping to catch like butterflies or stuff like this. So yeah, animals, that's where they source their amount of protein.
So we're sitting now in your beautiful herb garden. It's just surrounding the house. It's beautiful. It's full of colors, of smells, and it's really something that I wanted to talk about with you. So maybe you could give us an overview of what's going on here.
Indeed, this is like a little sanctuary that is embracing the house, and that's how we designed it, how we built it, and it's an oasis of plants. There's so much diversity in this garden, and it brings me, of course, lots of delicious culinary herbs and some medicinal, but it also just brings me lots of joy. So I always like showing this garden when people come and visit, and it's a place where pollinators come to thrive, where we, come to harvest for the kitchen. And I think it's just a really great testament to how well plants thrive when they are planted together and when they are, competing and working together, and sort of that beautiful synergy between some struggle and aid, and everything is just flourishing here. We were talking earlier a little bit about how this garden came to be, if I was seeding it from seed or if I was doing it from cuttings. And I was telling you this story about, the vigor of life and how strong plants actually are, which is a testament to Philippe's mother, who showed me some very unconventional planting techniques. So most of the plants here that are able to propagate from cuttings were brought to me by Philippe's mom, or I harvested them here in the area. And we just planted, seeded, did everything here, and everything just took. And that was done in a very rough manner. So before I was much more careful in the way I planted things and transplanted things. But I found out that you can be really, quite harsh with them. And the life force is just so strong that things grow. And I think that is just another great testament to nature's force and life force. Yeah.
So how many different plants would you say you have here in this garden?
You know that I've never counted them, but I would say definitely over, 100, 150 maybe. And a lot of them are culinary, but also there's quite some are ornamentals here. I never used to grow any ornamentals. I was very much in the mindset of productivity. And as I get older, I think there's much to be said for beauty and surrounding yourself with beautiful things. because they're also very, good for the spirit. Some of them I don't even know the name because Philippe's mom brought them. But many of them, of course, are also culinary and edible flowers. Yeah, delicious, fragrant, aromatics. A very wide variety indeed. I will count them now after you ask me this question.
Yeah, okay. So you said that a lot of it you found from local areas where you found some herbs, some plants that you were interested in. You just took some cuttings and then just came back, put them in the ground, and let them grow.
I think that's a really great thing to do because, first of all, if you're doing it in your local area, the chances that the thing will thrive are very big. And also, I found that most people that like gardening and that have very nice gardens, they're really into this idea of sharing. So, for instance, if people come here for a course, I always have them leave with a bag of whatever they want from the herb garden. People can just pick and choose, and whatever will survive after propagation, we just dig out a bit or break off some branches because things regrow really fast. So it's a great way to start a herb garden. You don't need a lot of money and you don't need to buy everything in a garden center. You just need to go somewhere that somebody's already doing it. Just smile at that person and be like, do you want to share some of your plants with me? And most people that like planting, they will. So I think that's just a nice community sort of vibe.
Has anyone ever said no to that?
No, nobody has ever said no to that. I think that with a good smile and, some enthusiasm, most people will happily share with you. What's really nice is if you're a bit like towards the end of summer, a lot of things obviously are already in seed. And sometimes you'll walk past something and it'll just look weird, but you won't know what the flower looks like yet. And then you'll collect the seed and then it's sort of like a surprise. I have lots of envelopes of seeds that I don't remember where I took them or what they are. And then it's sort of like this wonderful surprise. You just look at it and think, shall we try this? Yes, let's put it there. And the only thing I wouldn't do that with is if it's really strong, big climbers that get very woody, because just popping those anywhere wouldn't work out. But most annual plants, especially flowers, are really great because it's sort of like a surprise waiting for you to happen in a few months' time. And you see it grow and it's like, ooh, what kind of flower will it be? So yeah, I like that. So this one is really nice. You just like rub it and then it smells like curry, so they call it curry plant, even though it's not the technical curry that you would use for a curry. It's like the European curry plant. It's very nice. And then here we have dill, of course, which also is like, not to be mistaken with fennel. They're all in the same family, but when you eat it, I love this. You have, your partner is half Russian, and there's a Russian dish that I really love, which is herring. So basically like salted herring with cream and then a lot of dill and some, I think if I'm not mistaken, lemon juice, maybe some onion in there and black pepper. So this is what we call the betadine plant. And I don't know if you know what betadine is. Some people know, others don't, but it's basically a liquid we use to disinfect wounds with. And so the sap of this plant is very heavily yellow. And when you have a little cut, you can just rub it. And it's super, super good for your reparation of your skin. And this is also a technique that I use a lot in the garden, which is to mob seed. So basically, instead of just planting one or two of a species of one type of plant, I just take a handful of seed and I very densely throw it around. That way everything comes up simultaneously and actually it outcompetes the weeds. So that's how you keep weed pressure down if you want mostly productive, plants growing.
It's really cool. It's really good. And then I guess the plants that are the most adapted to that spot will thrive more than the others, and then you kind of keep that one as the main.
And of course you are part of that ecosystem, right? You are still trying to sort of manage the whole. So I will walk around. I mean, I am in this garden almost daily with a cup of coffee, which is nice because I'm working. I take a coffee, I walk through, and then if I see grass species, I will make a point of trying to, eliminate those very early on because you really don't want grass to settle in. But if I see big patches where, for instance, at the end of the season, when everything dies out and I sort of make a big clean, there are areas that are left bare, and then I just immediately mop seed there something new so that it will take hold quickly.
Okay, cool.
This as well, like for instance, all of this, it begun with, I would say, let's see, 4 of these that I just stuck into the ground. And I've harvested from this hundreds of times. We sell this in our boxes almost every week, and this is just such a vigorous plant, you know. Sage is really... And I love sage. I mean, it's not everybody's favorite, but I really enjoy it, and it's really nice to make little crisp decoration. So the way that I would use this, or the ways that I really love using this in a sort of fine dining, is if you fry these very lightly, they become like little crisps, and then they're beautiful, like for decoration and for like a pop of flavor. Really nice.
And a bit of crunch.
And a little bit of crunch, indeed. Good with pork, good with apricots. This is also very beautiful, very rigorous. Like, this is not edible. This is just completely ornamental. But these are so strong. I think that they're called African daisies. And this plant, you need to prune it a lot. Otherwise, it will just become a huge bush as well. And I'm having this as a sort of like a decorative side that I just get to harvest from and have nice flowers on table every day if I want. And it feels like the plant just won't die on us. So that's good. And it's really drought resistant, which is good for this area because we always have a water struggle.
So cool.
Nice. Here on the left, our green leaf. Right?
So, how different is food that you buy from the supermarket to the food that you grow yourself here in a Nordic garden?
You cannot compare, guys. It's like apples and pears, you know? You're comparing two things that should not be compared. So I think the biggest difference is obviously taste, but also health, because you're not eating chemicals and all those, you know, great benefits that you're not poisoning your body with poisons. But if you're going the hedonistic route, I think it's really about how nutrient dense it is, and also about just the general flavor profile of things. So I think like that's the biggest game changer for anybody that loves to cook. It's that you can compare them side by side, and there is a very big difference in the flavor.
Okay. What do you think about the topic of nutrient density? The fact that we are finding out more and more that food grown in a healthy soil with a healthy microbiome in the soil is actually more nutrient dense.
I find that such an interesting topic, and we both know Dan Kittredge, who's basically like a big advocate for this and showing, you know, the difference in the nutrient density profiles and like how that is related to soil health. So I think that is just like, it's super fascinating. It also is something that we've had as a physical on-site feedback loop of eating the food that we produce, where it's like you taste the difference so clearly between a store-bought tomato and a tomato that you pick off the vine on your, you know, regenerative organic farm. As a chef, I can only say what a great attribute that it's not only nutrient dense, so it's not only healthy, but it's also tasty. Like those, to me, when they go hand in hand, it's like a win-win for everybody, right? Because if somebody was telling you, you need to eat these nutrient dense veggies, but you're just like, I don't like veggies and they're not that tasty. And now it's sort of like, okay, you get to eat a carrot, but that carrot will also taste better than the average carrot that you're maybe used to. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's one of those things that it's a win-win.
Yeah, sure. I really hope that you're enjoying this episode. I put a lot of work into it, so don't hesitate to show me some love by clicking on the like button just down here. Or even better, write us a message in the comment section. You can ask any question you'd like to Philippe, to Sophie, or to myself, and I promise that we'll answer them.
Let's say 50, 60 centimeters.
So at the start of the conversation, you told me that a big part of what you're trying to create here is about education, and we haven't really spoken about it yet, so I would love for you to tell me more.
Wonderful. I'm really happy to talk about it as well. Yes, it is actually, I would say, the main thing of what we're trying to do here, and that is sort of like raise awareness, and that, as I said before, I'm calling it sort of edutainment, because I think it's always fun to learn through storytelling. It's also why we chose sort of YouTube as a medium to, you know, get videos out there and to draw attention to the regenerative movement. It's also one of the ways where I feel like our sort of, you know, in-house people, planet, profit could get into balance, where it's like, I really strongly believe that it shouldn't all be about economy or all be about personal interest or all be about the impact, or it should be, you know, how you can bring your own skill set together and make money that way while also having purpose and doing something good for the planet. And I feel like this model that we've created does all three of those things, because we get to live a really meaningful and I want to say healing, but that sounds as if we're sick, but sort of nurturing existence in this beautiful place. Like, you've been here now, I hope you can attest to sort of the feel here. You know, it's really calm and peaceful and beautiful, and we get to create this space that is going to over time just become more productive. So from a personal perspective of where you want to raise a family, this is a really great location. And it's also a really great location to teach from, so to get people involved and show them, you know, all the different plants and how you can grow and how you can cook. And these are these basic things that people do, I mean, especially the cooking, every day, right? You're every day making a choice when you buy something in the supermarket. Every time you put something in your mouth, it's like a political act, basically. And I felt that combining education with this farming and cooking is just bringing our skill set together. Mm-hmm. So what we try to do is empower people to, you know, cook with regeneratively grown produce, to grow it as well. And a lot of people think when they hear, like, learn how to grow your own food, like grow all of your food. That's not necessarily the aim. It's more to encourage people to take back a little bit of control over their food system and experience the joy of cooking some of your own food, really.
Amazing. And so that education comes in different forms, because you mentioned the YouTube channel that you've been doing. So you spend a lot of time trying to educate people online about farming, about cooking, about a lot of things, right?
Yes.
And then there's also a physical version of that, where people come in here and you teach people. How does that work?
Yeah, well, so I'm a very big advocate for in-person events. Like, I love the digital space when it's used sort of for good, right? Social media can be very toxic, but I also think that there's a lot of really great information out there. You're an example, where basically you get to find like really good information and really inspirational stories. So I think that the digital space is great for growth and for scaling. But I also very much, I'm a social creature. Like, I like to connect, I like to talk, I like to get the instant feedback, at which sometimes the internet is like less capable, right? To give you that instant feedback of what do people really think about this. Maybe you get the extreme haters or you get the extreme people that are really, you know, supportive and positive. But there's also just a large part of the population that watches and doesn't say anything but thinks something, but you don't really get that feedback. And so I always wanted to combine the two and have people come to the farm and take courses here, also because it's a much better indicator for you as the person creating the educational content to get like good feedback on what are people really looking for, like what are their struggles, what are their, you know, what are their wants, and then you can better cater to them. So.
Okay, yeah. So what form does it take? Is it people come for regular lessons? Is it a sort of a camp where they come for a whole week? Like, what's the
So
format?
currently we have the format, we have basically the growing part made now, so there's more education on the way, let's say, but what we have live right now are courses around growing, and so basically helping people to set up their little vegetable plots and sort of food systems. And you can come do that in one-day workshops, or you can do that in a two-day workshop. So some of them are more geared towards like one specific part of it. So for instance, composting, or how you take care of your seedlings and stuff, or garden design, for instance. And then we have a 2-day course, which is super intensive, and it sort of like hits all the, you know, it hits all the parts that are important for you to successfully grow vegetables regeneratively. So there's a module that starts out with your holistic vision and sort of takes you all the way through to how to design and what drives fertility, and then, you know, basically like crop planning, more of the technical aspects of it. And then you get access to our digital course. So we do have a digital course as well, which is basically an add-on for the inside, or you could take it on your own at home, anywhere in the world, whenever you want, and then, you know, learn that way.
Awesome. So yeah, messages out there for people who are interested in learning more about starting their own market garden.
Yeah.
And what about cooking? Are there cooking lessons too?
They're gonna come. They are, like, we have a lot of tutorials out there right now about growing and about cooking. And like for the growing, we've got our digital product set up, and of course our on-site events. And then for the cooking, we're working on that. We are, of course, also cooking for some on-site events that we host where we have farm tours. So if you want to come enjoy our food, you could come visit a farm tour. And there are tutorials out there, but there's no in-person cooking currently happening. There will be in September and stuff. So if you're into that, then check out our website for sure.
Sweet. Okay.
So how do you bring all of these different elements into your business model? Because there's the market garden, the growing of food, the regenerating the ecosystem, there's the chickens, there's the education part. Like, how does all of that come together, and how does your economic model work?
Wonderful, it's a good question. I just wanted to also just draw back to one thing you said before, where you said like you want to learn people how to market garden. Like, of course, it's very much what we do. So we do show people a lot of those techniques, but our courses are also very much geared towards people just wanting to grow for themselves. So it's like basically the average consumer, and then people who might want to market garden, they take our courses as well. But maybe there are people in the space of like becoming a professional market gardener that are like Jean-Martin Fortier or other people that are really geared towards the business side of things. I think we are very much geared towards people that are looking to give their own gardens, you know, a useful purpose. So we're more in the consumer section, I would say. And as for our business model, which is a really great question because we have a lot of stuff going on. So I would say that we sort of have two businesses running alongside each other, and that our place serves as both the backdrop for the education, and there are certain aspects to our farm that aren't necessarily needing to be profitable on their own as a singular enterprise. Like I was explaining to you, for instance, the chickens, that, you know, it's more for just us regenerating the land and for the eggs, and then using that for the content and for the videography and the education. The same goes for like our sheep and our broilers. So we see them as parts of the regeneration tool, but not necessarily as, you know, we're making money from selling eggs, for instance, right? Philippe is very much the gardener of the two of us, and I'm much more the storyteller. So I think we've found a really great way to combine two businesses alongside each other and take the benefit of both. And so if you see them as individual entities, I would say that our main focus is on the content and the digital creation. And then our market garden is working in function, but obviously needs to, you know, generate an income. But it's not something that we necessarily want to scale to great lengths, let's say, you know.
Okay, and so you managed to make it work at the moment with the income from the market garden on one side and the courses and education part of the operation?
Yes, well, we are obviously still only in the second year, and we have had to invest quite a lot in terms of getting the system up and running. But yes, things are looking very positive. Like, growth is going strong, and we have, you know, our KPIs to reach in a couple of years. So I would say that we are managing to make it work. Yeah, definitely.
What's the long-term vision? Like maybe 10 years from now, how do you imagine this place being like, and how do you imagine the model evolving?
Yeah. Well, in 10 years' time, I hope that we're standing in this, you know, location with everything that we've implemented, having, you know, like, I would say, having great impact and success, so that our fertility levels have gone up. We can have more animals on the land. Our trees are thriving. We are still supplying our local community with food, because that is definitely one of Philippe's, you know, purpose-driven desire for his life. Like, he loves to grow. He loves to grow plants. He loves to garden. He loves to be outdoors. So I envision us doing that. As for the digital side, I think that if we are successful, a lot of people will know who the farming chefs are, and a lot of people will associate that with a very positive influence that has had on their daily lives in terms of what they do in their kitchens. So I hope that we have inspired many, many people to buy organic, regeneratively grown local food. And I hope we have inspired many people to feel that they are also capable of growing some of their own food. How that will evolve in 10 years' time, I think that there will be many spin-offs and many different types of courses and areas to explore. Also, showcasing other successful regenerative projects is something that I'm very passionate about. We did a mini-series, and I would love to get out on the road also and sort of go beyond this location. And I see it as a wonderful home base. Like,
it's amazing. So you're really, really passionate about trying to, obviously, to have an impact on the land that you own here, and you're doing something amazing here, I believe. But also beyond that,
yes,
trying to reach a lot of people online through courses, through going to visit other farms yourselves, to try and get the knowledge out there, to get people inspired about farming, about regenerating, about community, and all of these things, right?
Exactly. I think the storytelling is super important. I feel like that's where there's a lot of room still in our movement. Like, I feel like we're in this early adaptation phase that we discussed earlier, and I feel this need to to tell the story. Like I feel something burning inside of me that is just like, guys, this is so great. Like everybody needs to look over here, and not, I don't mean here, like our farm, but I mean like, hey, regenerative ag is amazing. Look at all these small farmers that are doing a great job. I feel that because we know a lot of, small farmers, we've been small scale farmers for a long time now. And I sort of feel like, farmers need to get to this sort of rock star status, not for the personal fame, but for the sake of sort of, the respect that the job deserves, and the support that it should receive from the community, from the local community. There's maybe a little bit of a missionary in me. And I also think that there is a really strong case to be made that, as love in relationship goes through the stomach, I also think that change in the world can come via like the kitchen, if you will. And I think that's a unique perspective we bring, and it's a fun one. I think people like food and like cooking and like good stories, and I think we have all of those.
Do you miss the sort of chefing life and having your own restaurant?
Yeah, well, I don't. Philippe does. Like, I think if it was up to Philippe, we would probably be opening a restaurant like tomorrow. But I'm trying to hold that off a little bit because of the family aspect, and and sort of the. Yeah, as I said before, it's sort of what you want from your, your personal life, and I feel that even though restaurants, it's a super satisfactory job because you get to like perform every day. It's a high stress. When you succeed, you get the room full. You serve everybody great food. Everybody goes home. You have that feeling of a victory, and that happens over and over again. And maybe sometimes you have a bad night, but most of the time you just have this constant feedback loop of like success, and that's really, really empowering. And I think Philippe also thrives under this adrenaline kick. But from my perspective as a mom, I sort of see how hard it is on family life, and so I always joke that we'll do it maybe when the kids can do some dishes.
Yeah. Okay. See. What would you say is your favorite thing about being a farmer and having this farming life?
There's actually quite a lot of things that I really like about it. I think the best thing about it is that you get to witness the natural cycles, and I think that is a very empowering experience, because I think that seeing, that cycle of like things slowing down, coming up again, getting more energy, full on like thriving garden, seeds, and then it decaying sort of again and silencing down. It sort of makes you much more aware of like that rhythm, the pace of life, and it puts things in perspective, because you also see like the force of nature, like how things how the life force is so strong, and how you can see things that are actually quite damaged still then end up being these beautiful thriving plants. So I think there's something about it that is just innately energizing and healing. That's one of the things, and you get that by just being in the garden, harvesting, working in the garden. So that's super nice. I think there's like a very healthy side to it. Let's call it like that. Mentally, very empowering. You start to feel one with the natural. You start to feel that you're a part of it, which is something that I didn't feel growing up so much when I was living in cities. And I think that sort of stepping back into the natural is very good and very healing. Obviously, I enjoy the good food. I enjoy the abundance that we enjoy. I enjoy the flavors. I enjoy the sort of learning that as a cook, even certain things go really well together because they're in season together, and sort of being guided by nature in that sense in your creative journeys in the kitchen. I like that our kids get to experience this, and that they have this connection to the land, that they go out and they eat their little edible flowers, and that's like part of their daily routine where they just go harvest. And sort of those romanticized images that people have about farming are very true. I think that those are the reasons I think that people enjoy farming. And I get to feed people, and I think that's really nice. That other people are grateful that you're doing this.
So your two daughters, they enjoy that farm life too? They don't miss being closer to the city and stuff like that?
Sometimes I worry a little bit about that. That's a very good question. I think our youngest is very adventurous and sort of like hands-on, outdoorsy. So I think she really thrives in this setup. Our eldest is very creative and sort of like dreamy, and loves to make plays and paint and stuff. So she's a bit more maybe inward, if that makes sense. But I think they do both enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to put a little disclaimer here for all the parents watching. Our kids also watch screens, and they are not just always happily prancing around in the fields, but it is a part of it, and I think they do enjoy it. But yes, maybe when they start turning 12, 13, maybe then we'll start getting some questions about like why are we far away from city life, and I hope to balance that with just like regular visits to family and friends, and like sending them into the city just enough so that they can experience it and figure out for themselves if that's what they want. They'll probably live in cities, because everybody needs to revolt against their parents' choices and then come back to it.
Probably at some point, yeah. But
I don't know.
I personally think it's an amazing childhood to have for kids, to be so connected to nature in this beautiful place here.
Yeah.
With beautiful nature, with amazing food, with this, being not completely disconnected because you still have screens, you still have internet and all of that, but I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I also agree. Having said that, that touches on a subject that I want to just quickly put out there. I think as humanity, we need to do so much more for what happens in schools, because our kids are not homeschooled, so we send them to public school. And in general, I don't have much critique about, for instance, our school here locally, right? There's people working there very hard and with lots of love. But for instance, I don't really have much control over what they eat there for lunch. And that's one of the things that I find still hard to sort of accept, where, we try our best to give our foods like quite nutritious and healthy things to eat. And then, but in school they just eat random crap, I want to call it. Let's just call it crap. I'm sorry, it's crap, And that's so even in our setup, it's not perfect, right? Like it's just, you can't control everything. So you do the best you can.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we talked about all of the positives, the amazing parts of living here, being a farmer, all of this, but I would maybe also like to know what's the opposite side of things. And I'm sure there are some things that are hard, and maybe the question is, what's the hardest part about this life?
About farming, or about this life. Well, I was gonna say it ain't all sunshine and roses, isn't it? No, life is also, there are hard parts, of course. And I think like that is one of the things that I suppose, also hinting at when we were down there, where it's like, if you want to farm, you need to be realistic about what that takes. And about, not only like the physical labor. Small scale farming is obviously not very machine dependent. So a lot of it is you, right? Like you physically showing up every day, come rain, come shine. So I think that's one of the harder parts about farming, that, on the good days it's really nice, but there are days that it's just the sheep escape. You find out that something ate that crop that you were tending to for the past few months, and like you're not gonna now be able to sell it. There's maybe gonna be, sort of regulatory things that you need to deal with that are very bureaucratic, and you don't really have time for them, and now you're gonna have to just soldier on and like push through because like you need to do this, right? I would say that one of the hardest parts about being a small-scale farmer in general is making a profit. Like, it isn't easy to make a profit. You need to be smart. You need to have like great accounting. You want to make sure that you are, not over-investing, because I think that's like the easiest thing that you can do in sort of the quest for making things easier. But then that obviously needs to be justified at the other end. So especially as well, like vegetable growing, I think of all the enterprises you could run on a farm, because what we're doing here is obviously market gardening, but within a farm setting, right? I would say that every enterprise has its struggle. So I mean that in terms of like, you could be growing meat, you could be growing veg, you could be, growing flowers and stuff. So I think that the market gardening in general is just like a quite intensive job. So it's a lot of hours that need to go in. You just got to be very on the ball in terms of what you're doing and where you're spending your money, and if you're spending it wisely. And I think that comes with time, like where to invest, and but if you start off, it's easy to make mistakes, and it's easy to lose money quite quickly if you don't get on top of it.
Sweet. Well, it's been an amazing conversation. I loved it.
Me too.
Love the farm, the tour, everything you're doing here. Great energy.
Nice.
And thank you so much for also hosting us for a couple of days here on the farm. We absolutely loved it. And thank you for cooking this amazing food for us as well. I'm so grateful for all of that. So yeah, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you also. I'm really happy that you made the journey out here. We're far out, so we really appreciate it. And it's been really lovely having you. And I've been, you know, we've been blessed to show you around, and it's great to share this place with others. And you're always welcome, both of you. So thank you guys as well. Thank you so much, Rafa, for making this wonderful video of us. I'm really excited about it, and I really love all the other projects that you're doing. And for those of you watching, definitely give him a follow, because he has many more wonderful visits of other regenerative projects all through Europe. So definitely somebody to look out for. See you in the next video, which is going to be a cooking one. The Farming Chefs, peace out.